name is Karen, and welcome to our channel called Our House, where the goal is to help you go from questions to confidence when it comes to homeschooling, specifically the Robinson curriculum. And I wanted to do this kind of like a webinar feel video explaining what exactly is the Robinson curriculum method from a purist standpoint, right? And typically what people mean when they say the word purist is adhering to the rules, being really strict about it, not deviating from the program. And so that's what I want to talk about. I reread the course outline every year, and every year I feel myself just coming closer to that purist mentality of keeping it simple, exactly like the method was intended to be. And I understand it's really difficult today when there are so many curriculums out there, so many subjects, so many materials, and this program is so different than what you see in a public school environment, private school environment, and even now these boxed curriculums, homeschool programs. And so I just want to give you the confidence that this works, especially as I'm seeing the results with my 12-year-old and 11-year-old. It obviously helps out a lot with my younger children who are now 9, 7, 5, and 3. So we're going to talk about today. I have this little presentation here for you. I'm going to share my screen. And so we're going to go through this little presentation here that I put together, the Robinson curriculum, purist method. Just what exactly is it as Dr. Robinson explains it in his course outline, the program. Let's dive into it. So here is the outline, what we're going to go over. Saxon Math, what to do prior to Saxon Math, writing essays, corrections, what to do prior to essays, reading, vocabulary, grammar. We're going to talk about other subjects, habits, and rules. So let's jump into Saxon Math. Saxon Math is what the Robinson curriculum recommends. Now, the program is only $199 K through 12 for your whole family. The only additional books you have to purchase are the Saxon Math books, and it will tell you exactly which ones to buy. So let's talk about what this part of the program entails, and it is recommended that the first thing that the student do is work on their Saxon Math. That's when your mind is the most sharpest. Well, it's a different part of your brain that the student will be using with math versus the rest of the day. So you want to get this done first. Saxon Math, we have a fixed amount. We always say 2 hours of math, 1 hour of writing, 2 hours of reading, but that's not exactly correct. Typically, yes, the student will spend 2 hours of math. But I think what parents might get hung up on is the 2-hour point and just telling a student, you're going to work 2 hours on math, not giving a specific amount of problems to do. And so what happens is that a student can just milk that 2 hours doing maybe just 2, 3 problems for that 2-hour period. And that's not what we want. So always give them a fixed amount, not just a time limit. Then they correct their own work. Now, if their error rate is higher than 5%, typically you have them redo the lesson the next day. That's the goal. You don't want higher than 5%. If they do have a high error rate, then you want to reduce the amount of problems that you give them to half. Typically, a parent assigns 1 lesson of Saxon Math a day. However, if you see that they're getting more than 5% error rate, then you should bring it down to half of the lesson for that day until they can bring their errors down. After they regain accuracy, then you can increase it back to 1 whole lesson a day. If they're getting more than 95% correct and they're flying through it, then you can give them 2 lessons a day. Really what this is depending on is the student error rate, more so than the time or the problems. Now, for example, I will show you here. One thing that the Robinson curriculum recommends is having the student track their errors. This is a great tool to help them bring their errors down. So I actually have this printable available for free on my website, ourhousehomeschooling.com. You can click on the printables page and you'll find this form. I also have it soon for purchase as kind of like a calendar with the 2 pages that they can hang very easily on their desk. But you can just print one of these and then keep attaching pages as you go. So how this works is you have the lesson number here on the bottom, and then you have the error number here. And I have a very faint line here at 1 and at 2, because if it's 30 problems they're working on, you don't want them to get more than 2 wrong. And if it's 15 problems, half the lesson, you don't want them to get more than 1 wrong. So that's that faint pink line there. That's the goal. So you can see here, for example, my daughter 12, Isabella, she has lesson 91A. We got to a point where we had to slow it down. And she had 2 wrong. Then the next day for 91B, she had 1 problem wrong, 92A, 1 problem wrong. This has really helped her track her errors, but also just bring them down, because what this does is it discourages careless errors, thinking, well, what does it matter? I'm going to self-correct anyway, or I'll redo the lesson anyway. So it really helps to just reduce the errors right away from the beginning. So let me continue with the presentation here. I'll share my screen. So then we talked about the error rates not being helped. So if a student is being helped with their math, it is unlikely that they will really be successful completing the science, the chemistry, and the physics that comes after math. Also, not helping them increases their self-confidence, because they're figuring it out on their own, and they're learning to gradually solve these puzzles, these problems, and not just memorizing the solutions or memorizing the way you showed them how to work that problem. So then what comes after Saxon Math? What's next? Well, the Saxon Calculus book, the physics book, and the chemistry books that are in the RC program. Now, what about prior to Saxon Math? So here we have memorizing math facts, which I have some here. These are some of the division ones. These are the Robinson curriculum flashcards that you also see here on the screen. There's the card sizes. As you can see, they are a nice big size. There's nothing distracting on them. I really don't like the flashcards where it's 2 problems on 1 card with the answer on the opposite one. It's very confusing, very overwhelming. So you want them to just rote memory, knowing all their math facts: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Typically, this starts your first academic year, the student's first academic year, which is around 5. And I know for 5, my 5-year-old is doing really great memorizing. You know, the system that I have, I've organized the flashcards into, and I can share this with you if you'd like to. Little math flashcard guide where I've broken it down into sections that they can work on each day before moving on to the next. There's just a few different sources that I used to develop this strategy and method, most effective for memorizing. But the way to do it is very simple. Just using the flashcards. You can also have them write them down, any ones that they're struggling to memorize, writing down, and just flashcards. Now, in the past, I have used other things, other methods, Flashmaster, Extra Math, and number stories, math, the ones where they have rhymes for multiplication. And I have just come to realize that a lot of that is just, especially like the books and the rhymes and things like that, it's something else that they have to remember and recall in order to remember and recall the math fact. And so it's more effective if you just cut out the middleman and just go straight to rote memory of the math facts. So there are ways that you can make it not so tedious, not so boring. I have a video on a board that I made that they really like using, my kids like using. I give them the flashcards and they test themselves and they put it in the right pile or in the wrong pile, keep working on the wrong pile, etc. So yes, and then after they memorize their math facts, then you want to start Saxon 5-4. So that's usually during the second academic year, but they do have to know how to read, be strong readers. So for some parents, 6, maybe it's not going to work out, maybe 7 or 8 when they have that maturity and they're ready for it. But you can start slow with 1/3 of a lesson or half a lesson. But typically, it seems like from reading the course outline, they started memorizing math facts at 5 and then Saxon 5-4 at 6. It is not recommended to use Saxon 1, 2, or 3. A lot of that is just busy work. The parent would have to sit and do it with them, which goes against the whole self-teaching methodology. It's just a lot of filler, busy work. These books were brought about afterwards to kind of fill in that gap, to give the public school system something to do during that time. So Not recommended. They don't come up for sale in the Robinson curriculum. They don't come included. And again, I have these tools available on my website, but also a flashcard tracking form. I have it here. So here we have, also I have this form that I can make available on my website if you'd like, a math flashcard tracker, and it just has a space for all the kids' names on top. I've had to print a couple of them depending how many kids that you have memorizing the math facts, and just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so you can keep track of where they're at. As a parent, what I tend to find most challenging is just really organizing, having the system in place for those younger years, because I do like keeping track of everything. So a simple form like this will help me. A simple form like this helps me to just keep track of what section they are doing. Because if you're like me, you can understand every day being, where were we at? What were you memorizing? What section were you at? So just simple worksheets like that really helps to keep track. So that is what they are supposed to do before Saxon 5 form. All right, let's move on to writing the daily essay. So what it is just a page of original composition by hand. And it's at least one page, but it's okay if they write several pages. There's no formal structure. They will gradually work out their own structures based on the excellent books that they are reading with this curriculum and on their free time. And you let them pick a subject of their choice. They're free to write on whatever topic they choose. But as parents, you could also use this to test reading comprehension, having them write a book report after they're done with their book, or during the book, just a summary of what's going on. I personally really love the Book of Knowledge. They come up with some fantastic essays every day. When I say read something from the Book of Knowledge and then write a report on it. So if they're stuck on ideas, you can do something like that, but really it's their choice, whatever they want to write about. Now let's talk about feedback. You want to circle punctuation, spelling, and grammar errors without actually correcting them. They really should do that themselves. And they must also correct their essay before the next day's writing assignment. So I know for us, typically, I correct it and then they rewrite it at that same moment, as soon as I give it back to them. Now, when it's just a few errors, I will just circle them and they can fix it with their pencil. However, if it seems like there's a lot of careless errors, there's a lot of errors on the page, then I would instruct you to rewrite them. And the same in the course outline. It says to do that. Just have them rewrite it. You can explain sometimes punctuation and grammar to them. You can use this as a learning opportunity. But spelling, they should really try to fix themselves using a dictionary. You can just circle the words that are misspelled. Now, what about prior to essays? Up to age 10. So typically that's 6 to 10-year-old age. What about at that time? Well, two great things are penmanship exercises and copywork. So penmanship, the Robinson curriculum actually has included penmanship pages in the CDs, on the CDs and on RC Online that you can print out. We do a lot of that. I print a stack of those at the beginning of the week and just hand them out after we do their math facts, after we work on their math facts. So you could do that. You could do just writing the alphabet. You could also just do writing the alphabet. And then also there's copywork. Copywork is great. They can copy from the Bible or copy from a great book. There's lots of different sources online. Great like moral character rules. I have some on my website, like the George Washington Rules of Civility, I think it's called. They can copy things like that will just kind of enhance their character training. So copywork, penmanship, two things that they can start doing from the start, even as little as it is. So those are two things that they can do. So those are two things that they can do up to age 10 when the formal essays begin. All right, moving on to reading. It is recommended that they read the books listed in the RC core order, in the order specified. And there is also a supplementary list from RC in case they are reading really quickly, really devouring books. And the list goes in order of difficulty. So if they need a little bit more padding in those earlier years before they get onto the harder books, there's lots of books in the supplementary list. Now, it's meant to complete a 5 to 6 hour school day. So if they were really quick with math, really quick with writing, everything else, then they should fill it up 5 to 6 hours with the reading. However, if they had a full day with everything else, they should still do a minimum of 2 hours of reading. Now let's talk about before moving on to the next book. Before they move on, they should pass the examination if there is one for that book with the Robinson curriculum. Also, vocabulary. This is very important. They should master the vocabulary flashcards that are assigned to each book. And it's also a great review if you could include the past 2 or 3 books, those flashcards, as well as the recent one that they're reading. You also have the vocabulary exercises if you want to use those to help them memorize the words and their meanings. However, you don't want to spoil the fun of reading. You want them to just really understand these words and what they mean. You don't have to have them spell them perfectly, just that they know them. And even if they don't know them very well, that they know later on, it's going to be important that they know these words. And you want to make sure that they do master these vocabulary words enough that they could use it freely in their own speech and writing. Now, if these words are not used at home, which I know a lot of the words I'm learning as myself, and they are not words that we just typically use in our home all the time, it is important that you provide books that do use them so that it doesn't just feel like a foreign language with no native speaker. So introduce books maybe for your evening read aloud time or other times that have these vocabulary words in them. That's going to be really helpful. And talking about grammar, we do have with the Robinson curriculum, Professor K spelling and grammar books. They are excellent. And so this is meant to be a brief, intense period, not just constant year after year. Grammar exercises, if you're going to work on them, would replace the daily essays. But again, that's just for a short period of time while the student is learning these grammar rules. With spelling, the Robinson curriculum really recommends the Robinson curriculum really doesn't put a huge emphasis on the spelling program. Like I said, there is the Professor K spelling that has lots of a great system of word families that you can maybe just review once a day or once a week. However, the spelling really will come with the constant exposure to great books, great literature, and the writing every day, looking up words in the dictionary. So it's a more organic approach to spelling. All right, moving on to other subjects. That is for the remainder of the afternoon after the school day is over only. So if you want them to learn a foreign language, that's great. However, it should not take away from the time of these 3 components that we went over: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those are priority. Those need to take up the majority of the school day. Those need to take up all of the school day. So anything extra is fine, but just make sure that you do it after all the other school tasks are completed. As far as habits, just 2 of them here. Early bedtime hours. It talks a lot about how usually when students go to bed late, the academic performance suffers the next day. So you want to make sure that you get them in bed early and that you use your best hours for school, which is typically in the morning. So that's it for that. And then rules here, we have 6 days a week. Now this one is one that is very important, and I know a lot of families have a hard time with, but if you really can't do a full day of school on the 6th day, at least do math. And then you could do your extracurricular activities the rest of the day. But it's just really important because every 24-hour window, after 48 hours of not doing school, it really takes the brain about another 24 hours to re-engage. So it's like having a 4-day school week when you only do school 5 days a week. So if you can do school 6 days a week, then you're avoiding that 48-hour stall that then causes your brain to take longer to pick up speed again. So 6 days a week, at least do math. The other big rule is no sugar. Now, of course, there's sugar in a lot of things that we eat, apples, fruit, raisins, however, no added sugar. Dr. Robinson did feel that this also hindered academic performance, and just the self-discipline of it, of a child sitting there for hours a day doing all their schoolwork. Diet is important when it comes to that. And also no TV. It is important that there is nothing else competing for your children's attention when you're introducing all this classic and older literature, older books, you want them to really enjoy reading. Well, one way is to just remove the screens, remove the television. Now, one last thing that I did want to talk about not in the presentation is reading. That's another big component, right? Reading, teaching a child how to read when you're starting out the program. The Robinson curriculum has these great phonics flashcards. They're only, I believe, $20, $25 with free shipping that you can order from their website. And you can use this as kind of a standalone program to teach your child how to read. I do have a phonics flashcard guide, two of them actually. This is the second one that I'm developing to go with progressive phonics. I like progressive phonics, it's free, but you can use any phonics program. The Robinson curriculum has Alpha Phonics available for free with RC Online. So whatever kind of phonics program, just make sure that, again, you're being consistent, doing 6 days a week, so you're not, so they're not forgetting. So that is it for this video on what exactly is the Robinson curriculum, just the purest method, just exactly as it is intended to be. How does it work? And I can tell you that this is highly effective. It is also very friendly for moms, avoiding homeschool burnout. There's no burnout. Your only involvement really is giving feedback on the essays and teaching your younger children how to read and helping them memorize their math facts, really just kind of facilitating an order, keeping track of it. That's it. And it just frees you up for the rest of the day to do whatever you need to do in your home. Or if you're working from home, this is very friendly for parents who work from home, working parents. Keep in mind that this was created by a widower. Please give this video a like if it was helpful to you, if you like content like this, so that I can create more in the future. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, I have a 13-part video course all about the Robinson curriculum, where if you sign up on our mailing list, you will receive the video links for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye.